G'day, beard brethren, Sheilas, fuckheads, and just all-round legends. Welcome to another week of Two Beards, a podcast, and Wrexham AFC. And a podcast all about Wrexham from your Aussie blokes down under, although that guy over there is not Aussie, and he's certainly not Adrian. So we haven't got Adrian for this week because he's still stuck in Japan. But we thought we'd bring along Mark. Mark, mate. Not the ginger
Hi.
beard, the white beard, but
I now understand why you asked me, just to keep the beards quota up.
you've got to.
I do. I've got to be honest. I make a fair amount of money to supplement my income as an Adrian impersonator around the bars of Wrexham. So that goes down pretty well. Yeah, I make a fair amount of money out of that.
Oh, there we go.
I just want to know: am I an honorary Aussie now?
You are, mate. You are totally.
Excellent.
You are honorary Aussie for this. So this is I got to say it's a first. It's very different because I'm so used to having Adrian with me, but we got to do what we got to do for the Wrexham people. So so we'll get some pleasantries out of the way before we get into the nitty-gritty of the episode. Guys, by all means, subscribe and share the shit out of this. We would love for you to come on board. We've seen some incredible growth the last couple of days. And hey, if you want to become a fuckhead, it'll cost you $5 a month. And if you're wondering what that is, that's our patron program where we have a bunch of fans. They pay us $5 a month. They get access to our fans only Discord. We've got access to 10% off our merch. Adrian normally does this one. 10% off our merch. Shout outs on the pod, giveaways, whole lot more. Whatever you want, this is great. We really, really do love our fuckheads. So giving them all a quick shout out. We have Chris, we've got Aaron, we've got Jake, we've got John, we got Will, we got Ryan and Sarah, and obviously Adrian, who is missing in action. But anyway, we love you guys. And if you want to get onto that, then by all means, links will be in the description down below. Now, Mark, I thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us.
It's no problem. Although I wish you hadn't insisted on me actually flying out to Victoria to record this. I could have done it from home.
We got to go for that realism. We got to get you.
I know.
Got to get you sitting in his seat, get you feeling like Adrian. I mean, I noticed you didn't use the ginger hair dye that I sent you, but
yeah,
that's okay.
Sorry about that. I genuinely was thinking about putting the zinc on my nose, but that probably would have been, offensive, wouldn't it? And I'm still toying with throwing in a really offensively bad Australian accent.
Go on.
Wow. Oh, you larrikin or something.
That's proper Alf Stewart, that is. So anyway, we're gonna jump straight into this episode. So guys, just think of Mark as another Adrian, and he's lucky. We're lucky enough to be blessed with his presence here today. So it's going to be a good episode. Just a quick shout out before we begin. There is a Wrexham attendant named Neil Smith, WXM Neil on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. He has sadly lost his eldest brother, Christian, and he is doing a charity walk from lovely old Denbigh to Old Trafford. That's a fair way. In honor of his brother, who was obviously a Manchester United fan. We won't hold that against him because, we love him. He's part of the Wrexham community. So links will be in the description for that to give to his charity. So please, by all means, it's tragedy whenever anyone loses them, but it's for a good cause. I believe the charity he's supporting is called Mind, which is a mental health charity. So
yeah, I know Neil, and he's does a lot of good work in the local music in around Wrexham, and has been giving music or sorting local bands to be played at the racecourse as well. So yeah, my sympathies go with him, and I'd really endorse that.
Yeah, get behind it. I know on behalf of Two Beards Media, we will be making a small donation. But any word we can get out for that cause, especially mental health, is well and truly worth it. So, how long would that be from Denby to Old Trafford? That's cool.
I mean, anyone who's seen me full length will know I'm not the most voracious walker. So, but I mean, it's a distance. I mean, it'd be hilly at the start as well. Denby is going off into the hills a bit. But yeah, that's a fair distance to walk. What is it? Average? Don't they reckon it's average 4 miles an hour when you're
Yeah,
walking? Well, in that case, he's going to be going for a couple of days at the very least.
yeah,
I
yeah. I
think I'm
can
being
imagine.
conservative there. It's a fair
And
way.
on January the 18th as well, when it's like peak snow season. Uh,
True. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Probably shouldn't
Because you
tell you it's 40 degrees here today.
oh, it's I don't know what it is out there, but I can tell you the color is grey. In Victoria. Oh,
Oh dear, dear.
there's a
Oh well.
wallaby on my car again. Flaming hell.
Oh yeah, they'll do that. Yeah, you got to be
I hate when
careful.
that happens.
They around here they'll hop along at night and they won't see your car and they'll smash into your car and you wake
Oh
up with a
no.
nice dent in your
Oh
car.
no. Wow. I was years ago in Melbourne, seeing parakeets, parrots, and stuff flying around in the city. Absolutely blew my mind. You know, I've only ever seen them in cages or zoos. So actually see, wow, they actually live in the wild too. It was
Yeah.
absolutely astonished me.
Uh, when I get chance to when we have a bit of a heavy flock of kangaroos come through and they'll literally bounce through our backyard. So I'll send you some photos.
Oh wow.
It's pretty insane. But on that note, we're going to get straight into the good stuff of the episode. We're going to review our games over a Christmas period right after this. Let's go. Roll it. All right. So we're going to review this week the games over the Christmas period. It's been a while since I've recorded a podcast because it's been with Adrian being away. So we've got a bit to catch up on. But obviously, we with the first game that kicked us off over that Christmas period being Newport County. Um, wow. It was a win. It was a 2-0
Yeah.
win, a gutsy win at that. James Jones and Elliot Lee with the score. That was a bloody good game, and that gave me huge hope coming into the Christmas period. Um, Getting to experience that. And Mark, mate, what tell us about the game? Take it away.
It was very windy. And that was the main factor, I think, really, because it was blowing towards the new temporary cop. And Newport won the toss and switched us around so that they could get the benefits of that. So that they're trying to get on top of the game, get a lead before they have to deal with the wind in their
Mm.
faces. And they got two big chances in the space of a couple of minutes, and Okonkwo saved them both brilliantly. And that for them, I felt.
Oh, that wind
Um,
looked insane. I mean,
yeah.
I could see there was a good shot actually. If you ever go back through the replays of the game, James McLean comes up to the corner, puts the ball down in the corner, and he's getting ready to take his kick. And as soon as he's taking his kick, the ball's getting blown off the line. I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, that must be bloody strong wind there."
And the poor keeper, the Newport keeper in the second half, trying to kick into the wind. And I don't know if it showed up, generally the football cameramen are trained to sort of don't go up with the ball, just follow to where it's going to land. But he was kicking it and it would get to, sort of about 30 yards out and then it would be caught by the wind and it would just go literally vertically up and then drop. That was brilliant. The poor guy, he was having nightmares. But I think I said in the commentary, I remember years ago, the great legendary goalkeeper, Di Davis for Wrexham. We had a game where it was put off for a day, Welsh Cup match, because there was a howling gale. It tore a strip of corrugated iron off the roof of the Kop. So they had to call the game off and play it the next day. and the wind was unbelievable. And the first half, it was against us. And we were playing Bridgend, a small team you'd expect us to beat. And it was only 1-0 at half time. Davis had the ball in his hands, tried to throw it, and the ball got blown straight back at him. And he had to dive and save his own throw. That's how bad it was. But then in the second half, with the wind at our backs, we scored another 7 goals and won 8-0. So, yeah,
I get,
maybe not
I
quite
get
as bad as
the,
that, but
I get the impression it's kind of what Newport were going to go for.
mm,
Because I think they were trying to hope that they would use the advantage of the wind in the first half to that we wouldn't have legs in the second half to
mm.
be able to come back at them. But they got that one wrong.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, to be fair to them, if football's a low scoring game. If they got one of those chances that Okonkwo saved, they've got someone to defend. They'll pack the box and see how far they can go. But I had a really strong feeling at the time. And considering I'm usually quite pessimistic, it tells you something that if we could get through that first half, the game's won. And that was essentially what it was then. They couldn't get out of the penalty area very easily, and we got at them. And yeah, the moment James Jones scored, I really didn't feel there was too much threat.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, it's not just the ball that gets affected; it's also players' balance. I remember I was playing Chesterfield about 4 years ago, and it was just the ugliest game of football ever because there was like a diagonal wind going across the pitch, and you could just see the players were struggling, just to keep their balance and pass the ball around. So, no, I was really pleased with that, because those sort of conditions obviously favour the weaker team, don't they? They make it a bit more of an even match. So, I was really pleased the way we got through that game, to be honest.
very strong. And the atmosphere with the new cop, I must say, it came through on the TV, on
Yeah,
iFollow. And especially when we scored the first one with James Jones,
yeah,
that
yeah.
was just I couldn't imagine. I mean, it gave me little goosebumps,
Mm.
and hairs standing up just hearing it, and then but to actually be there and witness it with a
Yeah,
four-sided ground for the first time in how long? 16, 17 years,
yeah, yeah.
long time.
It was
Um,
brilliant.
it would have been absolutely just I mean, I don't know how you hold it together. I could not do your job because
Do
I'll
I
just
hold
be
it together?
tired. You do really well. You're so professional with it, and it's so I don't know. I love your commentary. I've
Oh,
always loved your commentary, and the best thing that's ever happened this season is your commentary on every game on iFollow. Oh, it's so good. But oh, it's it must be real. Like if I was in that position and they're charging down the wing, I'll be like, "Fucking go, yeah, go." Getting right into that's why they wouldn't have me on the TV anyway. I'll probably say something that'll get them in trouble, but
but it fascinates me because I seem to get equally split down the middle. People saying, "I don't know how you keep so calm," and you go really crazy. And so it does quite interest me that I'm not quite sure. I guess yeah, I guess maybe I must be quite balanced if people see me as one extreme or the other. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it has its
Sure.
moments, and you kind of feed off the crowd a bit. But like for example, like the best thing and it was featured in the doco when Paul Mullen against Bournemouth scored his third, and you're like, "Oh, they have loads of that, loads of that." I was like, "Yes." And they featured that in the actual doco and in the press, the trailers for it as well. And I was just like, that's my mark. That's it right there.
I am. I don't know. I think I've said this before. I see it as I've got a responsibility to try and see what's happening, which sometimes makes it a bit less fun. I didn't. I probably enjoy the good times more if I was just on the cop than commentating because I could let rip. But then by the same token, when it's bad, I have to analyze it, and therefore I don't think it feels quite as bad. So like, okay, I'm not jumping forwards, but a game like the Walsall game, I sort of appreciated them more than I think I would have done if I was in the away end, and you end up saying, I walked away from that game with a feeling of, well, fair play to them. They were brilliant. Whereas I think if I was in the away end, I'd be thinking, I just spent quite a lot of money coming here.
Ah,
So,
yes.
but yeah, the Newport game. The other thing about the atmosphere, of course, is that purple jumper. Did you see all that kicking off?
Actually, I was going to ask you about that. What is this for our listeners? What is this with the purple jumper? Now, I do sort of understand a little bit of the story because Ryan from Me, the Wife, and Wrexham, he filled us in a little bit. But I think just for our listeners that don't know about the purple jumper, it's
Well, Well, the classic thing, of course, is that the game where it all kicked off, which would have been about 5 or 6 years ago, I was commentating, and when you're doing that, you don't really know what's going on in the crowd, so I have to go and ask people afterwards. Um, but basically, apparently, we were playing at Wrexham, and the Newport fans had a bloke who, in Che's words, was old enough to know better, wearing a purple jumper. He was just giving the Wrexham fans loads, as football fans, of course, will, when there's a line of police and a massive gap between the stands, so you know nothing's going to happen to you. And so the Wrexham fans turned on him and started singing about his expletive deleted, oh no, never mind, his shit purple jumper. And they just kept singing that over and over and over at him. And I think he got kicked out the ground as well, which is always seen as a victory. So that was a lot. Having had a bit of a hiatus, the Wrexham fans were ready, and they were going to sing that all game anyway. But when Newport's keeper turned up in a purple goalie shirt, I think that was just an open goal. Just put the ball on the spot for us. So yeah, it was quite fun hearing that throughout the game as well. Those little
uh,
idiosyncratic rivalries and things you can poke the other side with are good.
and you had a pitch invader as well
Oh
in that
yes,
game.
yeah.
Uh, it's been going around on X and on TikTok and that. I think someone got a video of the kid. But first time I think I can ever remember since I started watching him that I've seen an actual pitch invader, bar the promotion game against Boreham Wood when
Yeah.
everyone invaded the pitch. But this is just one lonely kid ran up to Elliot Lee, give him the dabs and ran off into the crowd into the new cop end. Uh, Look, we don't condone that, but good effort.
He and he also had a message for Newport, didn't he? As he ran in front of their fans. Did you
Oh,
see that?
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I
I think
didn't
he was
didn't
trying to
know.
suggest the game could end 1-1 by the number of fingers on each hand he was holding up some as you ran past. Yeah. And then all the fans were when he jumped over the electronic hoardings, all the fans were pointing in the wrong directions to try and confuse the stewards.
See,
But they did catch him, didn't they?
we were talking about it one time, me and Adrian on the pod. It's like, why have we never seen a streaker at a Wrexham game, right? And we got really into it. It's like, why has there not been a streaker? It's like, and we were like, someone get down there, and then we're like, well, maybe it's because it's too cold. It's
100%, I reckon. They In the 70s there was like a spate of streakers in Britain. And at least one of them became a celebrity. But yeah, it seems to have died down in Britain now. We don't seem to do that much. We had a Jack Russell on the pitch about 10 years ago. That was great fun. It was like a dull game. And then this dog just ran on the pitch and just had doing laps up and down. Oh, it was a joy to see a dog just being happy, running for the sake of it. But it was also a glorious release from a dreadful game.
no, see, I can only imagine what your commentary would be about it.
Oh, I get overexcited, man. My fab dog football facts. Oh, actually, it's two, I suppose. One is that on British TV, they often show an old black and white picture of a dog running on the pitch and jumping up and biting a goalkeeper. And everyone rolls around laughing. But the actual fact of it is that on that clip, the goalkeeper had to retire because of the injury he got from the dog bite. So not so funny. But the
Oh,
other one is that one of the big Brazilian teams in like the 50s, um, there was a dog. A dog ran on the pitch, and the president of the team decided to adopt it. And it was, and he would take it with him to the games. And if his team were like trying to waste time, he'd throw the dog onto the pitch just to sort of disrupt everything. So the ref had to get the dog off the pitch and eat a bit more time up and they'd be closer to victory. And the tactical use of a dog, I think, is something football hasn't explored enough.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Well, that's that's definitely interesting. But let's move on. So we've covered Newport. We've won that 2-0, which was amazing. Running into the Swindon game. Now Swindon was always going to be interesting, and I kept a good eye on Swindon for the fact that we tied 5-5 with them in an absolutely bonkers game earlier on, I think in August. And I was like, oh, if anyone's going to cause us problem over this Christmas break, it'll be Swindon because of how often they are able to pack goals in. Um, but lo and behold, it was a bit of a strange game, and we came out with an interesting lineup. James McLean on the front, which, oh, that got me right up and going. I was like, oh, this is in Parky's onto something here. He's doing something. Little did we know his team's riddled with illness and injuries at the moment,
Yeah,
so he kind of had no choice. But sure enough, it bloody worked really well. What were your thoughts on that?
yeah, exactly what you said. I think Dalby did very well as well in terms of really dominated in the air, and he gave lots for McLean to latch on to. But I mean, he's got tremendous energy, McLean, hasn't he? And he fights for everything. So,
I love
in
him.
that sense, he's got the profile, hasn't he? He can feed off those flicks from Dalby as he did with the goal. And
Uh,
oh yeah,
I love him. I love him, and
yeah,
I think up front he caused a lot of problems, and you
mm,
could see it. Him and Dolby are working off each other.
mm,
It just caused a lot of problems. And sure enough, 13 minutes into the game, Dolby header across his body, and obviously we had then James McLean pick it up, slot it in front, and then just push it away. And it was a majestic goal. It looked
mm,
training pitch like
mm.
what they've been practicing or something. And I got to admit, it was a really specky goal, and they were very, very unlucky not to get more. There were a
Yeah.
few moments in that game you're like, oh damn! And um, Fletcher, his first game back. That I mean, I love, love Fletcher. Amazing bloke, funny Scott, and he rocketed one from what 40 yards out.
Oh, yeah.
Had that had gone in, that would have been like just pack your shit up, go home. But you've seen it all.
Yeah. And he's done that twice now, hasn't he? He did that. Was it at Bradford? He tried it as well. So he's going to do that one day.
I
He's
think
going
he
to
will.
launch one and it's
I
going to
think
go in.
he'll be very Beckham-esque and like
Yes.
slot one in from just over the halfway point. I bet you. He's got it in him. He's got it in him,
Yeah.
and he's a fantastic player. And I was surprised to see him back on the bench so soon, especially coming
Mm.
off a knee surgery.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that's like to be back playing that level of
Yeah.
football, and not only just back and playing, but absolutely dominating when he came on.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so soon after a knee surgery, like, geez, give me the name of his surgeon. I reckon I could use some of that.
Well, I assume it must have been some like keyhole or something. I think it was I had a niggle more than a major problem, didn't he? But it was good that they sent him to get it sorted because hopefully he'll be able to start the game soon. In fact, I got a sneaking sort of desire to see him start as a surprise against Shrewsbury and really put the wind up him because that would be fun, I think. But
That will be
but he's I mean going back to the McLean goal as well, the celebration when he went to the Swindon fans, and when the ref blew his whistle, he was telling McLean to get away from the Swindon fans, and they all thought the goal had been disallowed, and they were giving McLean loads, and then they realised it wasn't. That was maybe my highlight for that game. But
yeah. I love it whenever James does that. I know that they're actually trying to push that out of the game a little bit, and I kind of think they don't really need to. Um, because there's been some golden moments between McLean and opposition fans. Absolute golden moments. One of them actually takes my golden moment of the year is when he's abusing the fan and then back and forward, and then the fan tries to jump an open gate.
oh yeah, yeah, there's cameo with that. Oh, no.
Tranmere, yeah, yeah, and I love it. He's just full of character. He brings a lot to the team, um, and he's all class, and he's a good bloke too. Like I've seen some
Yeah,
of his
yeah.
interviews and stuff. He's a very logical thinking, down
Mm.
to earth sort of bloke, and whether you agree with his political persuasions or not, or his opinion on the royal family, I mean, really, who gives a fuck? The guy's a legend. He plays football. He plays for the team we love, and he's everything. And I reckon a hell of a signing for us.
And he sent me back about 30 years in the Newport game when he did the good old-fashioned block tackle. It was beautiful. You know, and you
Mm.
go in 50-50, you just go in hard, side of
I
your
just
foot.
about wet
And
myself when I saw that. That's,
yeah.
you know what, Mark? That's fucking AFL shit. That's something you'll see in Aussie rules, like, because we love in Aussie rules, we love to see those crunching tackles.
Mm,
This was like he was like, because you normally like running sort of on a 45 degree and you're bumping him off
mm,
the ball. What this was like head on, just running
yeah,
into an Irish brick wall. It
exactly.
was so good. That is.
Took me back 30 years, but I think I kicked the Newport player back to the Stone Age, I think.
I was worried he was going to get carded for that, but it was a clean
Yeah.
tackle.
It's a
He
clean
made
tackle, wasn't
contact
it?
with the
Yeah.
ball first.
Well, I
So
was sort of right in line with him, like McLean running towards me, so I felt a bit scared, and I was in the second tier. But I think Newport player just pulled out a little bit right at the last moments because if you're not fully committed in those, you probably need to get out of the way. You know, you're going to get
yeah,
hurt.
yeah,
It's a hell of a good tackle,
you
wasn't
could
it? And
actually see. I've watched it a few times. You can see the moment the Newport player looks up and sees McLean, and he starts bracing himself for the impact because he knows it's coming. He knows it's
get out of the
coming, and
way,
that's
Mama. The train coming.
yeah. It was that split second that he looked up and saw McLean and backed off slightly. That gave
Yeah, yeah,
McLean the ball, and
yeah, yeah,
McLean was able to make clean contact with the ball. It is then deemed under McLean's control and just straight block tackle him, just laid him
yeah.
out. So
Exactly.
good. And that's why that was not a card or a
Yeah.
free kick. It was beautiful.
And it's also why he didn't have to pick up the lower part of his leg from lost property.
But
You
you
look at
know
that
what,
swing.
McLean, James McLean, I'll have more of that. Plenty of that.
The actually reminds. I can show you this. Actually, just realised. The when I was a little kid, because Joey Jones was exactly like that. I did, love Joey Jones, incredible tackler of the ball, or of the man, whichever came in his way first. And after one match, I was Notts County actually. I remember that really vividly because he really clobbered a Notts County player. And afterwards, I would go around the back for autographs. And I was with my cousin, and there's an ambulance there for the Notts County lad who came out in a neck brace, fairly high tackle, to be fair. And then Joey came, and Joey's the loveliest man on earth, despite the fact that he was violence incarnate. And he gave my cousin and I his studs.
Oh.
And I mean, he is a nice, generous guy who would give stuff away, but I couldn't help feeling he was just disposing of the evidence. There's lots of Notts County player matter on this. The DNA tested these studs that had been banged to rights. But yeah, so I kept hold of those. They're one of my articles of faith in the old pod room.
Oh gosh. That is
Classy.
amazing. That is amazing. Hey, is that no, that's not a kangaroo I see up there, is it? No, it's not.
Where?
Just at the
Uh,
very top. Very top. Where you just put those studs, it's two up. Oh no, it's not a kangaroo.
this.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? This is like it's almost like you've been primed to say this. That's my trophy from when we won the Welsh Youth Cup. So
Hey.
thank you for bringing that into attention. Lovely. Good blow to football, I'm afraid.
It looked like a kangaroo from a distance for a second. Then I was like, oh, what's he got going on there?
You're thinking about that back garden encounters again, aren't you?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. You got to be careful with some of them. They can be nasty.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, when I was in Australia, I can't remember whereabouts it was, but it was uh went on some coach trip somewhere, and I think it was I went on an epic wine tasting coach trip. Oh, beautiful work. But there were some tourists. So we stopped off and it was like a farm. And there were some kangaroos there, and there were tourists like taunting a kangaroo by holding some food up for it to stretch for. And I was just thinking, that kangaroo wants to kick your guts open. He's going to do it. And to be
Yeah.
frank, I sort of want that to happen. If you're going to taunt him, you got it coming to you. Sadly, the kangaroo was very placid and just, waited until they could reach the food.
Yeah, a
Because
lot of the
it's,
time when it's hot, like kangaroos, they're very, very placid. But if you catch them sort of around that dusk time when it's cooling down a bit, they can be nasty. And
yeah.
I've had some nights where I'm out the back and just chilling out the back, and next thing I hear is a low growl like that. And that's the sound they make. Um,
Whoa.
and you look around and there's a kangaroo just staring you down. You're like, mate, you do not want to do this right now.
So how'd you get out of that? Do you stay still like a grizzly bear, or do you move quickly like a Tyrannosaurus?
If they're going to come at you, you move quick. You make a very sudden movement, and they'll think and jump away. But generally, you can just ignore them. So
Oh, fair enough.
yeah,
It's like
just ignore.
Chesterfield.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much, pretty
You
much. You
know,
just sit there and ignore them, and they'll look because they're more scared of us than we are of them. And if you get uncomfortable and you don't like it, and you make a quick movement towards them, they'll jump away. But generally, if you just sit there and ignore them, they'll just go on about their business.
like Chester fans.
Like
Perfect.
Chester, like
Teeing them up
Chester
again.
fans.
Teeing them up, and I'm hitting them to the fences. The And of course, also like Chester fans, even if one of them does get a bit now, so the chances are there aren't many more of them.
Oh, they're out of the cup now, aren't they? So we're not gonna verse them in the cup. So
No, no.
uh,
Take
that
that
would
for
have been
another
fun.
day.
That would have been fun. I was like, if we're not going to draw one of the big six, I didn't really know. I knew a little bit of the Shrewsbury rivalry,
Yeah,
but I thought, well, if we're not going to get one of the big six, at least give us Chester. Just
yeah, yeah.
like make it absolute chaos. It'd just be so entertaining for us Aussies, hey? We'd just be like, but anyway,
That'd be
we
like,
move
yeah,
we move on to the
I promise
Walsall
you.
game. Walsall, what our boy, I got to say, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Mark, but our boys looked tired in that game.
I think so. I think maybe Walsall made us look tired a bit because they were very sharp, they were quick and direct. Um, but yeah, maybe so. I think maybe the injuries caught up us a bit. I'd like to see George Evans and James Jones in that midfield because I thought we backed off a bit in midfield and let them play, and we were pressured by them and played some passes too early. I thought when we could have been composed and try and pass our way through them. I think we were tempted to do that because, to be fair to Walsall, again, one of those things you can see when you're at the game, they were insanely brave. Playing three at the back, but they'd send both centre backs up at the same time and leave the number six marking Mullen on his own. And you sort of, it's, I mean, it's risky because if you're trying to tempt us into early long balls, and yeah, we got them wrong. But if we got them right, Mullen might have filled his boots. But yeah, we had an off day. Certain things went against us. I'm slightly bemused as to why it wasn't the handball for the penalty, a red card for the penalty. Although looking at it again, maybe it was going over, so maybe not. But all in all, 3-1 just feels right. That was good reflection of the balance of play.
Yeah,
And
I think so. I think so. I've heard a lot about Parky in some an interview I heard where he was talking about the fixture, the actual fixture itself, and being Walsall. It wasn't too impressed being Walsall away on Boxing Day, which rhymes. But anyway, I am no rapper by any means, but
I don't know.
but yeah. So he just to sort of get the lay of the land. I know Walsall is just outside Birmingham.
Yeah.
um, which
About an hour and a
kind
half.
of, yeah, I try and look at it for, because I being a Coventry born boy, I kind of think about Coventry and then where everything else is around Coventry.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to turn that on its head and think, okay, now where's Wrexham and where's everything
Yeah.
in trying to think where everything in relation to Wrexham is. But when I think about Walsall, you're talking about like it's near Wolverhampton, it's just outside of Birmingham.
Yeah.
Um, so
I think it's
it's
Swindon that the club are more upset about.
Swindon.
Um, yeah, because that's a long journey for Boxing Day. You look at all the other games in the division, they're fairly close. And that is the tradition. You play a local team on Boxing Day, or as local as you can get. And
Mm,
I know that people in the club are thinking that what's happened is the Football League have sort of put the clubs into little groups so that they can pick Boxing Day, New Year's Day games from them. And they've lumped us in with Wales in the Southwest, is our theory.
yeah,
Therefore, we end up going all the way down to Swindon when there's clubs much closer, like Stockport, like Tranmere, Crewe are all, at most an hour away. So yeah. So I think Swindon was the issue more than Walsall, I think. Although maybe having two away games back to back like that
yeah.
felt harsh. But half the division had that, I suppose.
But do you find because if we look at it as Birmingham, because essentially it's just outside of Birmingham, um, Birmingham to Wrexham, what's that, like an hour and a half drive?
Yeah, yeah. And Walsall is bang on the motorway. I think you mentioned the commentary. It's probably the most seen ground in Britain because it's literally on the motorway, and they make the most of that. They have huge advertising hoardings on the ground, to sort of draw people in or make money for them. But yeah, it's about an hour and a half, and
Mm.
the longest part of the journey, to be honest, is getting out the car park. I think it's
We,
it's one of these. Well, I say new build grounds. It's not new because it must be about 20 years old now. But they started then building like an industrial estates outside of the town. These grounds, and they almost all uniformly have a big car park with one exit. And I'm not quite sure who thought that would be a good idea. But yeah, you end up sitting there. So on on that Friday night, we were sitting in the car park for like about 45 minutes and then because there was nothing on the roads because it was late, we zipped back in about an hour and 20, something like that.
oh
So,
wow, okay.
but
Well,
there's some nightmare car parks, I can promise you.
I just kind of thought that that Walsall ground. So we'll talk about the ground
Yeah.
mainly. Like we don't want to spend too much time talking about Walsall because it's depressing. But um, that ground around Walsall, it looked very compact. There wasn't much
Mm,
space, especially for the toes of throws. Looked like there
yeah.
wasn't much space to work with, and I kind of get the impression that Wrexham don't like to play with grounds that are too hemmed in and too small. Because every single ground they've gone to this year that's
Mm,
had that feature, they haven't done well in. And that's not to say it's because of Tozer's throw or anything. I think it encloses things for them a little bit. And
mm,
I don't know, it must be a mental thing, but every ground that has got that, they have not done very well at. They've either pulled off a draw or, a, like on the weekend, got defeated. So, what are your thoughts on that? It seems
that's
very
really
small.
interesting. And I never thought of that. I mean, on the one hand, I feel like we should be used to it because we've just been in the National League where a lot of grounds are quite like that, or maybe they're a bit more open so the noise goes out. I would say it was a great atmosphere on Friday. And it was a great atmosphere at Accrington, which is very similar to that ground in terms of, I think, dimensions and feeling enclosed. Is this a case of the crowd can influence things, can get at you a bit more, it rips up more of a hostile atmosphere. But then we had 2,000 Wrexham fans in, and they made a hell of a lot of noise as well.
Oh, you
I
could
don't know.
hear them.
It's interesting that. Does it
Well,
feel more? Is it just more foreign to us? Because the racecourse obviously is much more big and more open. Does it just have that effect on the players of it doesn't feel like home? I
possibly.
don't know.
Next enclosed ground we go to like that, let's pay attention to that and just see what happens and see if they struggle a little bit more than they normally do. Because
Well,
it's
Newport
just a
isn't
little
like that.
theory.
Newport's not like that. Newport's a converted rugby ground.
Mm.
So the fans behind the goals have got your way back. Actually, there's a big strip behind. So, yeah, Newport. It's quite a basic ground, but it's not enclosed like that. So hopefully your theory holds firm for that game at least.
Yeah, we'll see, because yeah, it's definitely
Mm,
an interesting thought about that. So I'm going to pay attention next ground they play at where it's enclosed like that. But I'll see if they struggle a bit more. But um, I don't know. I kind of felt like we had plenty of opportunities we didn't take advantage of in that game.
yeah.
Um, the 3-1 seemed a little bit, probably maybe 3-2.
Mm.
It was probably more appropriate scoreline, but we just couldn't quite get it through to the back of the net.
I can't explain why, but we seem less ruthless away from home, don't we? We've only scored 2 goals twice away from home in the league. That considering we're such a free flowing team in terms of scoring. I mean, am I right off the top of my head? I think the Mullins penalty is our 10th away goal in the league this season. We're one of the lowest away scorers. Yet we're still getting results,
Yeah,
obviously to be up on the table, but that just seem odd that when we
I
are.
think every Wrexham fan at this point, they get a bit nervous when Wrexham are away.
Yeah,
They just play every game at the racecourse and we'll be all right.
no problem nowadays.
But I
I
do
don't know why
think,
that is. It's odd, isn't it? You know,
mm,
we've got so much firepower, and yet we seem to get 1-0 wins, 1-1 draws seem to be the sort of usual thing.
yeah, a lot of
I,
draws, a lot of, I mean, aside from the 5-5 um against Swindon, but like, yeah, I think you're kind of right with that. There is something with it, and most Wrexham fans kind of get a bit nervous when it's an away game, and we do obviously get some away games like the Notts County away game where we just absolutely dominated them from start to
yeah.
finish, and that's more like what we want to see.
Mm.
But that don't always happen.
But I put it to you, my lord, that the we have actually started a lot of away games like that, but not got that second goal. I mean, Swindon was like that, and if we hadn't had the sending off, I think it would have been 1-0, but comfortable. The Barrow game at the start of the season was like that. We got the early penalty, we missed loads of chances, and we let them back in the game. I think there's been quite a few away games like the Notts County match where we've gone there, we've dominated, but unusually the Notts County game we actually got the goal, and then we got
Yeah.
another and had that area of the sort of grace that made it harder for them to come back at us.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe we just got Notts County's number now and we know how to defeat them. So, because then they went on an absolutely atrocious
Yeah.
streak after that.
We
And
hurt Notts County, don't we? Because when we beat them in the league, they then had a sort of ropey end to the season,
mm,
and were sort of scratching out draw wins of late goals, and the same in the playoffs. And then we've done
yeah.
it to them again. They must be sick of the sight of us.
I reckon because they've got. I mean, they're a fantastic team. I know there's a lot about their coach at the moment possibly jumping
Yeah.
ship. Which it'll be sad for Notts because Luke Williams has done a hell of a good job with them. Um, but if you got to go on to bigger, better things, you go on to bigger, better things. I mean, let's face it, Notts County are no Wrexham, are they? So he'll probably be searching for bigger, better things, and all more power to him. But regardless, I mean, they had a good solid win on the weekend, which was
Yeah.
good to see them get back on the score sheet. But yeah, it was to see what happened with us against Walsall. That just I hate losing, but
Yeah.
I think the game just had that feel that we were never meant to win that game. It's just
Yeah, there were missed chances. Like I say, the non-handball. I was convinced looking at the monitor that the third goal was offside. I got to be honest, freeze framing it. I'm not so convinced. It might be a brilliant call by the linesman, but they've just There were a couple of bad tackles on us in the midfield that I thought were borderline reds that the ref really wasn't interested in. But ultimately, better team did win. To be
yeah.
fair,
Well, I mean, if this was the Premier League and they had VAR, they'll probably be like see it's like 2 centimeters offside.
Yeah, yeah,
That'll be an
could have been.
offside call.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only thing, like I said, that should save the handball from being a red is whether the shot's going over. Because to me, if it isn't, it's got to be a red card, and the ref doesn't even buck him. I
Yeah,
thought he was a
that
bit
that
erratic, the referee.
that really had me confused. I was like, that's a clear handball in front of the
Mm.
goal. Like I get it. I mean, in my opinion, it looked like he was trying to move his arm away, up out of the way, and the
Yeah.
ball just tracked into his arm. But
Mm.
regardless, that's still a handball in front of an open
Yeah.
goal. That's
Yeah.
straight red.
Yeah.
Maybe he gave him some leniency because of the fact that he was actually trying to move his arm out of the way of the
Mm.
ball, and it still struck his hand.
Yeah.
I don't know, but regardless, open goal, denied goal, handball, straight red.
Mm. Yeah.
But
That's how I see it, to be
we need
honest.
Mike the
But
ref on here to
yes.
he can give us a lowdown on how that handball stuff works because like there's been so many missed calls for handball this season.
Mm.
It's just been ridiculous and like some of them have been blatant handballs. But well, we'll see how we go. But I don't know that game just we didn't feel like we were ever meant to win that Walsall game.
No, no,
Uh,
absolutely. It was
and how we beat them in the first round was 4-2.
4-2. Yeah, yeah.
How we managed to put four past them and then couldn't even score one at their home ground. It was just kind
Hmm.
of come on, boys. But no, they looked tired. They looked
Yeah.
out of it. It was long Christmas period, and I know they've got another short run of games coming up, which we're going to get into right after this. Okay, so that brings us to our next game, which is going to be massive. It's going to be Barrow at the racecourse. It's got all the markings of a absolute humdinger. This one,
Mm.
this I got to admit, and I'm glad it's at the racecourse and not at their ground. They're a team that's in form and they are sitting nicely in the top four, and they gave Stockport a hell of a run for their money. If you guys haven't seen that game, watch it. It's fucking tight. so, so yeah, we got Barrow coming up now. What do we expect from Barrow? Does Barnett play some more? What do you see going with this one, Mark?
Well, I find it hard to concentrate on it because I just went to get a glass of water and there was a kookaburra in my esky. So I'm trying to, I'm trying to recover from the shock of that. I'm desperately trying to imply I'm in Victoria. Don't worry, we can pull this off. Um, I have a lot of respect for Barrow. I mean, 14 games unbeaten in the league, and they had a run of what was it, about 10 wins or 9 wins in a row. And they're going to come at us, and it's good. I think humdinger is a fantastic word for it. Fantastic atmosphere there'll be as well. Be absolutely packed out with the temporary cop full as well. So, oh wow, yeah, it's going to be interesting. They
Hopefully
have
not
the best.
windy.
Well, at the moment, oh, damn. At the moment, I'm just looking at the weather forecast out the window. Because we have here in Victoria, as you know, one of the big things we have are vans of weather forecasters who go around doing the global weather. And they're saying that at the moment it's quite still in Wrexham, but who knows what it'll be like tomorrow, you know? My flight should just get me in time for the game, thank goodness. But yeah, I feel Barrow physical, quite direct. Bit of bad weather wouldn't hurt them.
Yeah.
It's grim up north, and Barrow's as up north as you're going to get pretty much in England. And they have the best defence in the division. Really rock solid centre backs. I don't know if you remember or not, the first time we went there, they had a lad playing at centre back that Ollie Palmer bullied into submission, and they've had to bring him off at half time. Well, their defence is much more solid now. And yeah, I think it's going to be a proper scrap. And like you said, if Wrexham are looking a little bit tired, do we a bit? I mean, George Evans and James Jones are available again. Would we be
Yeah,
tempted
yeah.
to throw them in and just get a bit of energy and control in midfield?
Well,
Um,
George Evans has been absolutely dynamic for the team,
yeah.
and I'd say he's cemented his midfield spot. Um,
Mm,
I mean, he did kind of look frustrated that game where that he got sent off. I mean, it was his first ever red card in any game,
that's
so
right. Yeah.
that goes to show that that's the type of person he's quite fair. He doesn't he doesn't want to play for yellows and reds too much. Um, but yeah, that he comes back, which will be a good addition. Um, Hopefully Mullins fit and firing. Word is Ollie
Yeah.
Palmer's going to be out for a little while though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cop to knock in training and possibly 8 weeks away. So that
Yeah.
is nasty. That's and you
Mm,
actually, if you saw his I don't know if you saw his Instagram post, he had the big long compression sock on his leg, on his right leg. Um and so obviously he's done something to his Achilles or his some it's got to be something big to be out for that long.
yeah.
So sadly, we'll be without Ollie Palmer, but we'll have Stephen Fletcher, we'll have McLean, we'll have my boy Lee.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, I think they'll be fit and firing, and I've always noticed that following a loss, we come out and we go ham every single
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So if the Walsall loss needed to happen, Barrow's going to be a straight slaughter fest for us, and we should win that comfortably.
I hope so. I hope so. It's the first of a sequence of games that I've got my eye on because I've been feeling particularly positive at us being up at the top end and so close to the very top when you look at the fixtures, because all those teams at the top around us, with the exception of Crew, haven't been to the racecourse. So, we have the scope, if we can continue our really good form at home, to be taking points off those sides, haven't we, really? We've done
We
the away
do.
matches with
We
them.
do. Our second run into April is quite interesting.
Mm,
A lot of the team, like, because we've already placed played a lot of the top teams, and a lot of them we've played away from home.
yeah.
Now in the running, we have a lot of the lower ranked teams, but I think the lower ranked teams tend to cause us a little bit more problems than the higher ranked teams do because they don't want to be at the bottom of the ladder and they're going to fight as hard as they can. But still, more there'll be more games at the race course. It seems like there's been a hell of a lot of away games for us lately, but um, I reckon it'll be from looks of our running, we're going to have a much easier run in than our run into the Christmas break. So
Mm.
could be interesting. Could be looking at back to back. Could be looking back to back champions, as I keep saying.
Hey. I, I like the running the way it is. Running where you've got the away games are against lower sides. Admittedly, quite right to be fighting for their lives, but then it's our job to impose ourselves on them. And then home games against the good sides because none of them will want to come to the racecourse. So
Mm,
yeah, I like that balance, and hopefully we can take advantage of it. But Barrow's the first one of those, isn't it? And they haven't lost in a long time, so we need to find a way to do that.
yeah, yeah, we do. We do. I see us. I definitely see us giving it a good go. And I
Mm,
don't see us losing that game. I do not see us losing, especially with George Evans back. Um,
mm,
uh, you know, Youngie, I love Young. I think he's been fantastic for the team, but I don't see him getting in ahead of George Evans.
mm.
Um, so that kind of writing on the wall for that, mate. I mean, the word is he might be going out in January for on loan or being sold. But look, as I keep saying to everyone, don't believe a word of it until you've heard it directly from the club.
Yeah, exactly
So,
so. Exactly so. The club was quite leaky in the trust days, and that's not a criticism of the trust, but it's just a reflection of the fact that if you've got a number of people in sort of high up positions who are not like employed by the club, they might tell their mates what's going on. And the club's much tighter now, so that's good. I quite like that. I like not knowing what's going on until that happens, because that means we can spring a surprise on people, can't we?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
And
I mean, it's feasible.
our last surprise ended us up, even though we didn't get Luke Armstrong, but we ended up with Stephen Fletcher and James McLean and George Evans. So come
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
That's
And the
like,
Conquo.
and a
Well,
Conquo, and a
yeah.
Conquo. That's right. So, like, you think about that, it's like, yeah, it's a League Two. Okay, I get it. He's got a good reputation for being a good striker, but we just went and pulled people out of the Premier League. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know what?
Yeah.
Screw your League Two. We'll just pull people from Championship and Prem now. And sure enough, I mean that those were some fantastic signings, and I'm definitely hopeful to see what January brings. I don't think we need to change the team too much though. I know there's
But if
talk
he,
of another striker, but yeah,
I think if he does, the thing is there, and you're talking about players going out on loan, how you fit it into the registration, isn't it? I wouldn't
yeah,
be totally shocked if the announcement of Bickerstaff getting an extension on his contract is a precursor for him going out on loan, because we wanted to at the start of the season. Parkinson's been really explicit in saying that there's no point sending him out on loan if he's not going to get game time, obviously, but also if he goes to a team that is very different from us. So you send him off to a team that plays at Accrington, thumping long balls. It's not going to prepare him for playing for us. So I think there's a process of finding the right club, but I think they will loan him out if they can to help him to develop. The contract extension is a pat on the back to say, don't worry, mate, we're not abandoning you. We've got faith in you. We just want to
mm,
develop you as a player. And then that opens up a spot for a striker maybe, or somebody to come in. And then the
yeah,
other big piece, apart from any new signings, the big piece of business that it appears we're trying to do is to actually sign a Conquo on a permanent basis, which would be great. Of course, we don't want him to
yeah.
shoot through like a
Getting
Bondi tram.
getting quick,
Yeah,
pay whatever they need to pay, because that is,
yeah.
I've said it on another other pod, well, another episode. Said it. Arthur is our goalkeeper of the future.
Mm.
So get him
And as
signed.
well,
Yeah,
McNicholas looks terrific too, doesn't he? I mean, fantastic to have three keepers like that. I mean, Howard's experience, and then the other two keepers have got real big futures, I think. I'm impressed
exactly.
with McNicholas.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's gonna be interesting, and I hope we do. I think we might actually break the bank a little bit with the Okonkwo signing if we're
Hope
able to
so.
pull it off. But I just get the impression he's quite happy at Wrexham, and he would be very open to the idea of staying on.
I hope so. I hope so. He seems quite a sort of nice, easygoing lad, doesn't he? So
Yeah,
hopefully, yeah, hopefully he'll be up for it. But yeah, I mean, I suppose the truth is that if we don't manage it, we can go out and try and buy a keeper of equal quality. But yeah, he fits like a glove, doesn't he? He's terrific, and the fans love him. So
yeah,
hopefully,
yeah.
we'll tie him down. But
So we got an interesting January window coming up. Um, I know I'm very interested to see what happens with actual Luke Young, because Luke Young being a stalwart of the team for
oh, yeah.
so long now seems to be struggling to get into the starting lineup. Um, I don't know what's going on there. It's like for someone with his name and what he's done for the club, can't get into the starting side anymore. Um, what do you think's going to happen there?
I wouldn't like to guess. I mean, I think a big part of this, if not all of it, is just that we got so many good midfielders. I mean, let me put it to you. Would you leave out Elliot Lee for a game? No.
Heck no.
Would you leave out George Evans for a game?
Nope.
So therefore, we got one midfield place left for James Jones, Luke Young, Andy Cannon, Jordan Davis to fight over. I mean, Davis is in the same boat, isn't he? I mean, Davis is a superb player,
Yeah.
but he's not. He's not had any continuity either. I think you could see in Young at Walsall that he hadn't had that continuity because he wasn't quite at his game. He did some good things, but he wasn't quite his usual self. And then Jordan Davis didn't look right, but I think that was because he ran off the pitch being second at Swindon, didn't he? So,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
honest, I was quite surprised so many of the ill players were in the squad.
Mm.
on at Walsall, but yeah, he didn't look well for me. He just didn't quite look right.
There's been obviously
But
that the lurgy's been going through the team like crazy at the moment.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. But
I
then
got to
going back to
say,
Young,
Boyle. It was
hmm.
the it was the was it Swindon? No, he looked like he'd walking off like he'd been sent off almost. Colchester.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was down when he went down the tunnel.
Yeah. To me,
That
it
was
looked
a
like he
new
was
ball
just
for
going
him,
to
wasn't it?
take a piss.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, yeah. I think I stirred up something out of nothing there by accident because I just looked at the monitor and I just saw him doing that. And I just thought, well, I'll be honest, I think I put two and two together and made five. I just thought, well, why have they chosen to show that? You know,
Mm. It was a
what's
weird thing to show, wasn't it?
so I thought, well, something may have happened that I've missed. You know, someone's come up on the bench and sent him off, or something's happened. And I sort of speculate. I think it's more asking, did anyone see that really? But I don't think anything did happen. I think he just went down there, whatever. You know,
Yeah. Well,
he
because I
wanted it.
watched it back a few times and it looks like he's undoing the cord on his shorts. So I was like, yeah,
Right.
he's off to drop the
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
off at the pool or, you know.
And I mean, there have been instances in the past, although I think Boyle would not be guilty of this, of players being brought on and then realizing they haven't got their boots and they've left their boots in the changing rooms or their shirt, even if it's hot and they've got like a bib on and they haven't actually brought their shirt out. So there's all sorts of reasons it can happen. It's just I saw it, thought, oh, they're showing that. Hang on, something must have happened that I've missed. If I was just more confident to myself, it would nothing would have come of it.
Yeah, it kind of looked like he was that's what he was doing, and he looked back at the pitch and poked his head over just to see what was going on, that he wasn't missing a key moment, and he's got time
Yeah.
to go and pay homage to the old porcelain throne.
But actually, yeah. But then when you see it suddenly, like I did, that looks wistful over the pitch. That's where I could have been, but now I can't. You know, like the end of when I was way before your time, when they used to have the old Incredible Hulk show, and David Banner was haunted. He could never stay in one place because he was the Hulk, and he would hurt the ones he loved. And so at
Yeah.
the end of every episode, he'd make a friend, maybe a lady friend, and he'd at the end look regretfully over his shoulder because he had to leave all that behind because he was the Hulk. Bum, 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 bum. And so I sort of thought it might have been an element of that. He'd been sent off. He's
Um,
going to change and rip his shirt off and just destroy it.
that's right. That's right. Hey, look, all the more power to him if he wants to do that. That'll be pretty damn impressive. But
I
I
may have an
think
overactive imagination. I'm going to level with you.
I think we're going to be in for a good game. I know you don't like to do score predictions.
Uh,
I can tell you now, I'm predicting a decent win. I reckon it's actually going to be a clean sheet. It'll be like a 3-0 win, or a 2-0 win or something along those. The boys are going to come out firing, just like they do after every loss. It happens every single time. So you watch out for this. It'll be very, very interesting.
I'm really looking forward to it. Just the whole atmosphere, everything.
Yeah.
My prediction is that I think they'll probably sell out of the katsu chicken slices that they sell. They're very nice.
Oh, cat. I love katsu chicken, bit of Japanese food. It's
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. It's
great.
the katsu. They have those now this season. Yeah, they tangy. They're nice. I'm
Ah.
impressed.
Well, hey, we're gonna surprise you a little. We can do some Ask Wrexhams because we've been
Oh,
haven't seen the old Ask Wrexham in a little while. So
yeah.
I figured, you know what? Let's get some Ask Wrexhams on here.
That's a
Um,
cracking idea. I do apologize for not doing them as well. I love doing that podcast. I just can't find the time. I'll have to try and get them done this week, but that's a cracking idea. Let's
the
do this.
grind is very, very real. It's a I I share your pain because doing YouTube and podcasts and all that sort of stuff, it is makes it very, very hard to find the time to do all the extra stuff, especially with everything that you've got going on. So we don't blame you one bit, Mark, mate.
You're very kind.
We're completely behind you. We know you try. So we'll figured we'll get some Ask Wrexhams on here right now. And Jarvo B or Jarvis or at Jarvo B wanted to know why didn't the wall jump in that penalty?
Well, with the free kick at Walsall.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it's down to personal choice with well, either the goalkeeper or the manager, I suppose, with whether the Pelton has a policy or not, or whether the Conquo does, that if you jump, you're vulnerable to the cute shot underneath. Teams do their homework and they know which teams jump and which don't. And you see that draft exclude the guy you put behind the wall that enables you to jump and feel it'll still get blocked. I think it's a either or thing, really. It's like you hear people saying things like, "Why isn't there somebody on the posts, both posts for a corner?" Well, sometimes people point that out if a ball goes in at the far post and there's no one at the far post. But when I was a goalkeeper in the good old days, I'd rather have another man out marking because very few corners go straight in the far post. So I'd personally rather have people marking in the box and winning the header in the first place. But people don't mention when someone wins the header. That's because they had an extra man in the 6-yard box. But they mention when somebody's not on the far post, if you see what I mean. So I think it's sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't. The way I looked at that free kick was that it was absolutely superb free kick. I've seen some people saying, why didn't the
It
Conquo
looked like
get
he
across
curved
to
it
it?
around the wall anyway, so it wouldn't have made a
Yeah.
difference if they jumped or not. So
I mean, yeah, the problem with it was that it's so central, isn't it? And I must admit, in my commentary, because we were a little bit low down, I slightly misjudged. I thought he might have put the wall on the wrong side, but he hadn't. It was very central, and again, the Conco's just got to take a pick of, well, I put my wall there, I get the other side, and then for me, again, as a failed goalkeeper, which a Conco isn't, I would say I'm happier for a goalie to let a goal in like that than to anticipate it's going on behind the wall and he shifts across and they hit it goalie side, lets it in. For me, that's a big no-no. As far as I'm concerned, we've put a big wall, we've got a Conquo where he should be, and we're basically saying to Walsall, well, if you can hit the perfect free kick, you can have a goal. And that's what they did. And I think,
yeah, and I
99 times
think
out of 100 in League Two, that's not going to happen.
I like to sort of think of it this way: is that when people ask about walls jumping or how goalkeepers do their form up, and you would know yourself being an ex-goalkeeper, um, when you're forming that wall and you're directing where the wall is going to place and all that sort of stuff, when the strike or whoever's going to take the free kick takes that kick, you effectively cannot see where that
Yeah.
ball is going to, whether it's going to go over the top or whether it's going to curve around the wall or whether it's even going to go underneath and the wall, you think the wall is going to jump. You effectively cannot see that ball coming until that last moment where you see it, where it goes by the wall. And Arthur Okonkwo did dive in the right direction, did see where it was going, but just couldn't quite get there because of the fact that one, the penalty was taken from a really, really solid distance, of quite a dangerous distance for any penalty kick to be taken. He went with did you go with a 4 or 5-man wall? I think it was a 4-man.
I think I can't remember, it was 4 or 5, but it was substantial, wasn't
It was. It was a decent sized wall.
it?
And when you've got that ball curving around the wall like that, so you're going to see the ball going to the right hand side of the or your left of that wall. You're going to expect it most of the time. It's going to want to keep on that similar trajectory, not curve around the way it curved. I mean, it was a fantastic free kick. So why does the wall not jump? Well, for a start, it went around the side of the wall, and two, it went in because purely for the fact that you've got to actually think about these things from a goalkeeper's perspective and how much little time they have to react as soon as they see the ball go over the wall. They're expecting their ideal situation is that ball's going to hit the wall and bounce back out. And
Yeah, I mean,
so,
my view of it as well, I suppose, if I was a bit mealy mouthed before, to put it simply, you can't cover every option. You got to play the percentages. And I think probably for a free kick that far out, because the other reason, well, no, a free kick that far out, you've probably done about the right thing. Um, the wall jumping or not jumping, like you say, as a goalkeeper standing behind it, you're not going to see the ball at all until it's got about 6, 7 feet up behind the wall because they block your view. They block your view of the free kick taker's body shape as well. If you're going to get any clues off that, so you can't see him,
mm,
and so you're just going to see nothing. You hear the noise, you see nothing. You have to keep your nerve and not commit and guess. And then when it comes into view, you've got to try and move like hell.
mm.
And
And you see quite often goalkeepers in Premier League they would just stand there and let that go through. They'll be like, "Yeah, fair play." They
Yeah,
would
yeah,
just,
exactly. So, and the wall jumping obviously makes the wall a bit bigger, so you see it a bit later. So maybe a Conqueror likes that. We'll say to him, I don't want you to jump because I won't have a good sight of it because I'll back myself to save most free kicks from that distance.
yeah,
Maybe he's saying that, but you've got to have a decent sized wall in that position, I would argue. Some people, often hear people trying to say, why don't you have just like no wall? Because are they really going to beat you from 30 yards or 25 yards? And I would reply to that, well, have you noticed how nobody ever risks that? I
mm,
think that's the answer.
yeah,
Nobody thinks that's a good enough idea to try,
and you
you
do get
know? But
some places where the wall they know it's going to jump. They know the wall's going to jump, so you'll
yeah,
have a player lying down across the base,
yeah,
and his job is simply just to lie there whilst the wall jumps. So it
yeah.
protects the ball if the striker is going to try and push it underneath. Which
Mm.
I can't remember the last time I saw a ball go underneath from a penalty kick, but
Yeah, it
it
happens,
does
doesn't it? But
happen.
I don't recall Wrexham ever putting the old draft excluder down. I don't recall. So,
Pamela Kit and Art says, I wonder if the away kit rules are connected to the 2022 and 23 season changes regarding fans with color blindness. The EFL wants contrasting kits on the pitch, and black versus red might not be enough, especially at night games. I'm curious too. So this is obviously to do with the discussion of sometimes like what kit we use.
mm.
Um, I don't know about color blindness, being a
It
thing.
is right. She's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's come in over the last year or so, but more awareness of color blindness. And the point about color blindness is that um, often it's contrast that helps you. So yeah, a red shirt against a black shirt is not a huge contrast, is it really?
Mm,
And whereas a red shirt against a white shirt is, and Wrexham had mentioned in the commentary, we had a slight issue with having two away games in a short space of time where we needed the white shirts for both, and we asked if we could wear the black at Walsall. Because they were, she was getting them all cleaned in time, and you get shirts get ripped by people pulling you down at corners and stuff, and the club in advance. I'm not
mm,
saying we were short of shirts for the Walsall game, as far as I understand, we certainly weren't, but in advance, we're just concerned that if the Swindon game took a bit of took its toll on the shirts, on the stock of white shirts, would we have an issue possibly? And so we asked the Football League, but the Football League said they'd rather we didn't because of the colour blindness considerations as part of that, at least. I think that's a good thing. The only thing is I feel it's inconsistently done,
mm.
so as I think fair enough. I think the Football League's absolutely got a fair point there, and it should be taken into consideration. But then when you see teams playing against each other who have got the same sort of tone of shirt, you think, well, where did that rule go then? That's what irks me a
Yeah.
bit. The sort of,
Yeah.
sometimes things are applied, sometimes things aren't applied.
Consistency
Um,
seems to be a constant issue in the league at the
yeah.
moment,
I'm trying to think, did I
especially with
mention in the
referees.
comment? Oh, sorry.
So
Oh,
consistency.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Did I mention about the ball boys in the commentary in Walsall?
You did. One of them got a talking to from the ref.
Yeah. But
What was that about?
they've relaxed the rule. The rule when there was COVID was you have multi-ball and they're all on little stands, the balls around the pitch. And the ball boys are only there to retrieve the ball. They're not supposed to hand the ball over because that could obviously transfer COVID via the ball to the player. Although I would argue if you retrieve the ball, you touched it, So hold on a second. But anyway, that was the rule. The ball boys aren't allowed to give a player the ball. And then the FA this season have sent a sort of directive saying, oh, we're not going to change the rule, but we don't mind if the refs ignore it. I sort of, I think sports rules need to be black and white, I would argue.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that ball boy got told off because most refs are now just ignoring it and saying, yeah, go ahead. They're not saying it to the ball boys, they're just allowing it. And then that one ref last time didn't want it to happen and told the ball boy off for doing what he'd done in every other game this season. So,
Yeah. That was a
it's just a
strange,
rule, it's not a rule.
strange referee that for that game. That was a
Yeah.
very strange referee. So that's weird. But anyway, look, we're going to wrap things up right after this. It's just me and Mark on New Year's Eve. So we'll wrap things up and we'll let everyone go out and party. So see you after this. All right, that brings us for another week to the end of a Two Beards podcast show. And it's it's been so Mark, it's been great having you here as my co-host. I would
I
love to
love it.
have you every week, but unfortunately Adrian's gotta come back.
Shocking. Poor bloke.
You're leaving a big shadow to fill, that's for sure. That's when he
Uh,
comes back.
I think I've been an inadequate but enthusiastic stand-in. That's all I can say. But I've loved a bit of Southern Hemisphere sun. It's been fantastic.
That's right.
Uh,
Yep. We've locked,
Beautiful.
just in case you're wondering, we've locked Mark up at Adrian's house, and he's Adrian whilst Adrian is busy
Yeah.
drinking sake in Japan, and God knows what else he's doing over there. But it must be good because I've hardly heard from him since he's been gone. We've exchanged messages a few times, but he's off doing his thing. I think he's enjoying a little bit of a break, and uh, all the more power to him. It's nice for some.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I'm gonna keep as I'm in the middle of a 2 week holiday, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut, I mustn't grumble.
but Mark, it's been great having you on, being my co-host.
That's
It's definitely something I never even thought when we started out this podcast. I never like you came on our second episode ever. And it really kind of shot us into that sort of legitness, as I like to say. Because having you on and a lot of Aussie fans and worldwide fans, they already know who you are. So it poked a lot of eyes our way, and so I can't thank you enough for what you did in supporting us then, and to see where we come from now and what we're doing now compared to our second episode. Um, it's really amazing, and I put that down to you. Like you started that for us.
I don't agree. I think that you're good, and I think you give a different twist. There's lots of podcasts out there, and we're very lucky, and a lot of very good podcasts. But I think you do genuinely give a different twist on things, which is really entertaining. And you would the cream would rise to the top, no matter what, I reckon. But I've loved doing this. It's been absolutely great fun. Really, really good.
It has been very good, very good. So I again thank you for being my co-host for the day, and giving me someone to talk to rather than me sitting here staring at the camera, just twiddling my thumbs. I'll probably
Oh.
get bored of myself after so long, which I normally do.
Solo podcast next week. Come on, do it.
Solo podcast, no way.
That'd be epic.
If
Like
you
make a
want,
little
if you
glove
want that,
puppet.
you can subscribe to my OnlyFans, $9.99. Oh dear, but no, seriously, thank you so much. And guys, all the relevant links will be in the description down below. Um, and if you ever want to reach out to us, you can get in touch with us on X, on Instagram. We're at Two Beards Media. Um, Mark, do you want to give yourself a plug, your show a plug? How do people get in touch with you?
Well, I mean, Final Whistle oldest football podcast in the world, of course, my friends. So you can subscribe to that at all good news agents or on YouTube and SoundCloud, well, all the podcast platforms. And then with that, of course, you get Dragonheart, our weekly show, and all the other good stuff as well, the hot takes, which we try and get out as quickly as possible after the final whistle. Sometimes technology at certain grounds can let us down, but we do the best that we can. And all that good malarkey.
All right. So no OnlyFans for you, though.
Well, it's I cater to a specific clientele. That's all I can say.
You're high class.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty womaning it out there every day.
Oh, that's good. But no, again, seriously, thank you. And guys, if you like this sort of stuff, you want us to keep coming at you every week with Wrexham content from your Aussie boys, myself and Adrian, we're always bringing it to you every single week. Give us a like, share, and subscribe the shit out of this episode. And yeah, and go over, give Mark a like and a follow as well on his X and his on his shows that he does, and be sure to let them know that Two Beards sent you. So, guys, that's us for another week. We will see you next week to follow up and run into Shrewsbury. Let's fucking go. Yo.
See you around like a rissole, you bogans.
Hey.